God, I hope I don't do this throughout. That's pretty funny.
So, Dennis, it's been too long. It's been a fortnight or more since we have seen each other and recorded.
Seems like forever.
I hopped over to California to hang out in San Francisco for a while, and got to see, that ocean, and there's some people over there, and it was
fabulous
great.
city. My favorite city, bar none.
Yeah, they have a new tallest building since I was there last. It's no longer the Trans World building or whatever, Trans America building. It's now the Salesforce Tower, which sounds very intimidating. But it looks like a suppository. Basically, it's this rounded oval thing that looks like, were someone big enough, could be used as such. But anyway, it's great weather in May in San Francisco. Yeah. It's pretty chilly in the evenings, but pretty warm during the midday. And yeah, it was fun to. I got to meet a bunch of people that I normally don't get to meet, and that I know, but much sort of like how we used to get together every year, you and me, where we got together with friends that then you had very light internet-based contact with the rest of the year. But right. It was nice to get together and meet some people that I had never met, but it felt immediately, as we discussed last episode, about how you can, how my theory is that you can definitely start to care for someone when you even if you only talk over text, that it was nice meeting people and seeing people that I had met only once. There were a couple people that I met in February 2020 in Australia when I went there, that I got to see again. And it was just man, we had no, when we said goodbye last time, we had no idea what was about to happen.
Yeah. Right.
And now we're on the other side of that. And,
well, how long were you there?
In 2 weeks.
2 weeks in San Fran. That's good. Good. Where'd you stay?
I stayed at my, for the time during the conference, I stayed at a hotel called The Graduate, which I was really hoping when I knew that it was called The Graduate that there would be at least some reference to Mrs. Robinson when I checked in.
Right. In fact, maybe her. Of course, I think she's dead, but
yes, and Bancroft
and Bancroft. Yes, we've talked about her. She was one of a kind.
She was not at reception, but I was pleasantly surprised to discover in my room a movie poster referencing that movie. But in the lobby, the whole part behind the check-in desk was yellow, and it was all full of National Geographic magazines, the whole
the covers.
It was like a bookshelf. You could see the spines of all these National Geographics, and I went and looked closer, and it for sure they were legit.
What's the point? What's the decoration point?
I don't know. It was a pretty yellow thing that I don't know.
Well, did the lobby look like the lobby of the hotel where?
No, the whole it was very loosely based on that, but the whole place, it felt in a way that a lot of modern hotels that I've been in don't. It felt like it was 150 years old.
Yeah.
The molding on the doors and stuff just felt like it was pretty ancient.
And was it in fact an older hotel or just?
I believe so. Yes. I haven't research that, but I'll leave that up to the listener to investigate that.
That reminds me that the hotel chain that bought up huge numbers of what they call boutique hotels, Marriott,
yes.
And expanded my potential stays in the kinds of place I like, which is what you're talking about. I don't like the ultra modern stuff. I like the feel of the older places. Right. So then, when you weren't at the hotel, where were you?
So when I weren't at the hotel, I were at my employer has what is called, this was totally new to me, a live workspace, and this is apparently a thing in California real estate where no one can afford to rent a place for their business, nor can they afford to rent a separate place for their home. So they rent one place for, they kill both of those birds with one stone.
Like a hotel room set up with an
And
office area.
so it was on the ground floor, there was like a garage door that opened up to just sort of like garage space. And then on the second floor was an apartment. And what I could determine from a lot of the neighbors was that they were using that ground floor for like warehousing their products for whatever they were shipping or whatever. And then that they lived as a family on the top floor. But my particular company uses the ground floor for just an office area with desks and computers and stuff. And the top floor is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment, which is available apparently to any of the employees to stop by anytime, as long as you book it in advance and you don't
alone?
Go inside. I was alone. Very good questions. I was alone for most of the time, but then there were 3 days when a colleague who is a student at Northwestern hopped over to visit, and he stayed in the other bedroom. And we got to know each other way better than we had before. And yeah, that was nice.
Did you like being there with someone more or less than you like being alone?
Wow. Again, I heard a podcast recently where people were against the super common thing now where everyone says, "That's a great question, Bob," before they answer. But darn it, if it wasn't coming out of me. I enjoyed being with him, but like he had homework to do and stuff. Like he wasn't on vacation or anything. He was because he like works in the same way that I did when I was in college. He works for us, but also goes to school.
Yeah.
So busy. He was pretty busy. We went out a couple of times, like to dinner or for walks and stuff, and that was fun. But when he wasn't there, I could, as I mentioned last episode, I could like gain some ground on like consuming media content that I had not before. And holy crap, in this apartment, they had a television that, I mean, I'm 6 feet tall, and I think I could lie down on the diagonal and not touch both corners. Like it was
bigger than 54 inches.
Big old fucking TV. Yeah. So,
well, that's interesting the way you answer that. Is in my, pretty extensive travel for my company, I did not like having to be in a position to have polite socialization. Now, not to say that if it was impolite socialization, I would have enjoyed it more, but my work schedule and my relaxed schedule is peculiar. And I just never wanted to have that impeded. But having said that, what I did always like was being able to connect with somebody for a meal, because I don't like eating alone.
Right.
But only when it was almost always on the fly, where I'm going to eat at 6 p.m. and that's it. If I can't, if somebody says, well,
either someone comes to be with me or not. Yeah.
Yeah. And if someone says 7, I say, no, by then I'm going to be back. And the way that I would say is, look, I'm having dinner at this location. At this time, I'm open to changing locations, but not the time does that work for you? Right. And then either yes or no. And I didn't like to stay with people in their homes. I really didn't like that at all.
Right. For sure.
That was just way too much social expectation.
Right. Exactly. And putting the dishes away or whatever. I experienced a thing that I, like, in retrospect, it doesn't surprise me, but I was sort of surprised at the time, so this conference was 2.5 days. It started in the afternoon, like on an afternoon, on like Tuesday, we'll say. And it was then all day, Tuesday night, and then all day Wednesday and all day Thursday. And man, all of that social interaction. So it wasn't a conference. Some conferences that I've been to are like in the lobby of the hotel I'm staying in, right? So if I get exhausted or feel like I don't want to be around people, I can just go up to my room and take a nap or do whatever. But this particular conference was in an amphitheater up in the mountains. So like the shuttle bus from our hotel took like 15 minutes to get up there.
Oh, really? It wasn't on site at the hotel?
No, exactly. So
expensive.
I mean, yeah, like also it was like, hey, we're outdoors, post COVID,
yeah.
blah blah blah. But also it was, you're there and you can't leave.
Yeah.
Like the speakers, as it took me a whole day to realize, we had a special like speakers lounge where we could go and like hide from people. But like that wasn't my point of being there. I wanted to be there to talk to people and to meet people and talk about my company and pitch and proselytize. But what I realized was, holy crap, was I exhausted after so much social interaction.
Yeah.
Because my day-to-day life is, I wake up and I feed one of my children because the other one has already left for school.
And the other one doesn't deserve breakfast.
And no, the other one doesn't deserve breakfast. Yeah, she knows what she did.
I knew it was your girl. I knew it.
No, she leaves before I get up because I can't be bothered to get up to feed her.
Can't be bothered.
But so my day-to-day social interaction is like I get up and I feed my kid, and then I go to the grocery store and I say 8 sentences to the people at the grocery store, and then I come back and I do my work, and then I have a meeting of like an hour where I talk for a little bit with people, over online, and then my family comes home and we have dinner and talk for a bit. But like like on my average day, I probably say 500 words, and on these days I was at least at 5,000.
Well, 500 words out. You got to think about that. I mean, it's got to be more.
Okay, I was guesstimating. Well, maybe it's 1,000, but the ratios are correct.
Just say very few.
The ratios are
10
accurate.
Times. 10 times.
More, no.
100 times.
100 times more. So, so like when and also after each day of the conference, there were after parties, and they were, hey, let's all go out to dinner. And I apparently was likable enough that all my dinners were like paid for by people that had startups that were well-founded.
Really?
Well funded.
Yeah, that's hard to believe that people would take an immediate liking to you. I mean, it took me years before.
I know, right? But I don't know. I was there. I surrounded myself with likable people, and I was there, and they were like, "Well, I guess we got to pay for that."
That you were
asshole
born,
too.
So that's not true at all. I mean, you were a darling baby, and then shit happened. I can't explain it, but
I mean,
so I'm interested in the after parties and the dinners, and I'm also interested in more about when you weren't at the hotel. Where did you go in the city? Because I love the city. I just love it. So tell me about those things.
So like because my employer's apartment was not in the city. Also the conference was in Berkeley, not in San Francisco.
The graduate is in Berkeley.
Yes.
And the conference was in the mountains overlooking San Francisco Valley.
Overlooking Berkeley, yeah.
Okay.
And so and also like where I was staying was just north of Berkeley in a place called Richmond, which is neither here nor there. But there.
Well, it's actually pertinent to my question. Would have a
but your question is, where did I what all did I do?
Well, the after parties to begin with.
The after parties, we it was mostly in Berkeley, and one night we had sushi, another night we had Indian, and another night we had Korean dinner. And so it was I was very amiable in letting people that felt more like they knew what they wanted to decide for the group to make choices. And I was like, I'll eat whatever you guys decide.
You went along
so,
to get along.
Yeah, but it was it was great, and most of the places were within walking distance of the hotel, and
so you'd shuttle back.
We'd shuttle back, and then those of us, and then people would say, okay, we're going to meet at the lobby this time. But some people were in other hotels because they didn't book at the right time, or because they wanted to use their Marriott points or whatever, and so we would agree to meet at this particular location at this time, and then we would go out. And
so these were all dinner parties, as opposed to like at conferences. Sometimes you have hospitality rooms where there's some cheapo appetizers and an open bar for a while. Our company used to sponsor those.
So at the conference, all day long there were coolers full of ice and seltzer water until about 4 p.m. when they got replaced with beer.
Oh, really?
And so towards the end of the conference day, people got a little bit more interesting with with the beer.
And so those obviously weren't just consumed during the breaks, but in the final part of the agenda, probably. Of how many people
Right.
were there? I mean, were there workshops and different smaller rooms and plenary sessions? Was it all at once? How many people were there? Tell me about the logistics. I want to picture this.
I think the total number was low given like how far I went out of my way to be there, but I think it was like 300 to 400 people.
That's low.
Only. Yeah, I mean,
well, ain't you a fucking rock star?
I mean,
that's
no, hold on. That was during the so I gave my talk on this. So it was 2.5 days. The half day, and then like the second day and the third day. Days. I gave my talk on the third day, and the third day was much less interesting to most of the people. So there was way lower attendance
because you were a speaker.
I mean, people saw that there were CEOs of publicly traded companies that were also speaking, but when they saw me, they were like, "No, we're not going to go that day."
Wait to get in the other direction. Yeah. But was it all plenary?
What does plenary mean?
Was it all one big room full of people for everything, or
it was all outdoors? So it was at this amphitheater where they specialize in putting on Shakespeare plays. Apparently, it's called like a Shakespeare. In the park, Berkeley, someplace amphitheater.
And so when they parked, did they have signs that said like out damn parking spot kind of thing?
No, but on the inside of the amphitheater, the place was riddled with tiles from donors who had chosen their favorite Shakespeare quote.
Oh, really?
So it was like Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, and it was like we're for Romeo or whatever. Like was just a tile on the area around the amphitheater. So
well, that's cool. But so it was all plenary then.
Plenary again being
everyone all at once. It's look, do you want to use a different word? I don't want to have to keep explaining it. The conferences, as you well know, often have plenaries mixed with individual workshops, and the plenary sometimes tied.
There was only one talk at a time, and
yes, and it was all in one place.
Yeah, all in one place, and again, like you couldn't escape the place. However, it was more interesting to me most of the time, and apologies to my fellow speakers to not be in the talk, to not watch the talks, but to like mingle with the crowd.
Where would you mingle? Outside the amphitheater area? Or
outside the amphitheater, there were
the presenter.
Yes, no, I was not disturbing the presenter. I was not like in the amphitheater, raising my voice.
Had to look up and say, "Could you in the back either walk to the smoking area to talk, or pay attention, or is that you, Erik?"
Yes, that did not happen actually this time.
Okay, well,
there were like sponsor booths. So the way that these conferences happen is the organizer somehow convinces companies to pay them, and that allows them to pay for me to fly there and stuff.
Right.
And so at these sponsor booths, most of the companies there were like companies that I knew somewhat, and many of them were companies that I had like consumed their product. Like, oh, I know about your cloud database system. I used it on a project once, and so. But what was fun about that was that I could then sell them on my company, like part of my job of being there.
Didn't have a booth.
No,
you were a speaker, which was in and of itself a marketing ploy, a good marketing thing.
I guess, yeah. Like I would have been a speaker even if I wasn't trying to sell my company. But the fact that I am trying to sell my company, it helped. Like what I wanted to, it directed my discourse,
right.
And so inevitably, after listening to someone give their spiel for a while, and I'd be like, "Oh, that's really interesting that you help, billing for small businesses to grow and blah 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 blah," and inevitably they would say, "Oh, and so where do you work?" And then that was my cue to like be okay. Well, I actually help build this thing that helps people concentrate at work.
Right. So they had a booth and they had a banner. They had some shit they gave away.
There were stickers and pens and swag, and there was one company that where they actually had like lots of places have T-shirts, right? Like, hey, take our T-shirt because it costs us cool. $5 or whatever, and here have a T-shirt. But one company had T-shirts for women, like designed because women's T-shirts are made differently, and they were like, oh yeah, we've got women's T-shirts here. And the woman that was near me when that information was given said like, wow, I've never been to a tech conference where they had like T-shirts like
for women. Right.
size for
Especially,
women. And it was cute because the t-shirts for women were black and the t-shirts for men were all pink. Like, I see your,
so in your interactions at the booth were both with the people at the booth, but then the people who, like you, were mingling at the booth.
correct.
And so
Yes.
here's a question.
Yes.
That is, there were times when you were expected to go there because there was a significant enough break, and most conferences will put the break beverage and food where the vendors are so that you're kind of forced
Indeed.
to go in that area. But then in addition to that, you're mingling. Two questions. One is, how many people like you were doing that instead of listening, and why exactly did you not listen? And tell me, in part B of that is, did you listen to some of it then leave, or did you just wait for the in-between time for speakers and not go back? That's a
Okay.
little complicated. I don't know if you
Yeah.
can
No.
track
No.
all
I
three.
understand. I understand the question. Thank you, listener.
Three-part question.
Yeah. So, as a speaker at such conferences, a lot of the information imparted by other speakers is like stuff that it sounds really pretentious, but it's like stuff that I already sort of know because I like
Yeah.
keep up with the industry. So a lot of it was not that like not that interesting, but there were some talks that I definitely made time to go and sit and watch. Because I knew that these people were seriously cutting edge people that I really wanted to listen to.
And in each of those cases, were you interested enough to stay the entire time, or
Yes.
any time did you leave in the middle of a presentation?
Maybe. Okay, again, it was sort of like open air amphitheater, so entering and leaving wasn't so much of a distraction. But I don't think. I think if I was there for a speaker, I think I stayed for the whole time.
Oh, that's good. Good choice.
But there may have been times when nature called from all of the seltzer water.
Sure. Well,
and
that
beer.
would be anyone's excuse to leave, and then if they wanted not to come back. I always sit back by the door.
Right. And there were times when I was standing by the entrance and totally consuming the content given, but like my exit was available.
Right.
And speaking of nature calling, because it's California in 2022, the bathrooms were, of course, labeled all genders welcome. But this particular one happens to have like standing urinals installed, and the other one doesn't, which I found like great, but also somewhat amusing. It's like, okay, so like we've socially advanced to
Right.
to not, but like also when I was in Berkeley, so I went for I met up a friend of mine that has helped me over the internet he's put in hundreds of hours helping my personal projects in a way that like he didn't have to, but like he was just that interested, so he did. So anyway, I owe this guy like 100 beers, and he's from Poland, and this was the first time he'd been to America. And anyway, I walked around a bit. I toured. I met him, and we walked around the campus of UC Berkeley, which was exactly. So we were there on a Sunday, I guess. So there was nobody there except for like high school students touring to see if they want to go to that school. But it was exactly the sort of campus that I expected it would be, open and beautiful and historic looking buildings and the clock tower and these message boards where a bunch of stuff is stapled on and stuff. But we, so after we toured the campus, we were like, we should go have a beer somewhere. And it was so hard to find a place to go have a beer.
Really?
Yeah, you would think, look, we just left this campus, but all the places on I guess it was Sunday. It's been Sunday. All the places were closed. Like you would open up Google Maps and be like, "Show me bars," and the bars were all closed. Anyway, we found a place, and it also had on the bathrooms, all genders and disabilities and whatnot welcome in all these bathrooms. And I walked in, and when I walked in the first time, because I had a couple beers and I went twice. When I walked in the first time, there was a woman in there, and she saw me come in, and she was like, "Oh," like she was sort of surprised that a man would walk into the public bathroom, which was like sort of showed me that she also wasn't really used to sharing bathrooms across genders. But then the second time I walked in, there was nobody there. But then when I was walking out, a woman walked in, and she was also like surprised that there was a man in the bathroom, which I found.
Was she surprised you were there, or she was just startled that it happened? I mean, you can't read.
I think if I was a woman, I don't think it would have been such an response.
Well, I know that because it would be woman to woman. Is that what you mean?
I mean, yes.
Well, of course.
But no, like I'm all in favor politically of gender neutral bathrooms and stuff. But I found it amusing that both the strangers that I met there, as well as myself, found it strange because we're in this transition period.
Well, one would think that since all facilities are historically designated men and women, that you might. Oh dear.
Hang on. He takes his headphones off as if we can't hear.
Thank God you're a good editor. Given that facilities have been rendered male and female historically, and that they exist that way, why wouldn't you keep that, but put another sign on that says men, designed for, or whatever, men, women, whatever, all genders welcome, so that everybody who went to the bathroom had a choice. Because there's 2 rooms everywhere. There's not one. Am I right?
Right. So your idea is to mark one of them as, historically this was for one gender.
Historically for women, all genders welcome. And what would happen is 99% of the people would go in the one that was historically designated.
Exactly. What happened at the conference was the one that was like, okay, this one has urinals and the other one doesn't. You choose. And all the men went to the one with urinals.
That could be another way for signage. One could say all gender bathroom. This one has urinals, stand-up urinals, and the other would say all gender bathroom. This one does not have stand-up urinals.
Right, exactly.
That would be even more neutral because neutrality is what they're looking for. Complete,
right,
open-ended, right?
And like ideally, we would separate standing from sitting as the. I don't know.
Well, in my history, anytime that I've ventured, almost most of the time, mistakenly into a woman's restroom, I don't like to put women in that uncomfortable position, obviously. And it was challenging. And a couple of other times when there was a long line for the men's and the women was open, I just grab and lock the door. But, it never was something that so much bothered me, only to the extent that it bothered the other people. So I don't know.
Right, which is, you brought up an interesting point of the line, which is super interesting because it's, I experienced that because normally part of, male privilege is that the bathroom line is not that long. But in California, or at least in Northern California, where they've advanced towards on this issue, there were times when I went to a bathroom in a restaurant or something, and there was a long queue to get in, and most of them were women, and I was like, well, okay. I mean, I guess now I'm on even playing field with,
Well, as far as the lines go, but not physically. I mean, the other thing to recognize is that because of that fact, in any given facility, the women's bathroom is much larger than the men's bathroom, but
I don't as not a connoisseur of women's bathrooms, I can't.
Well, not a connoisseur of women's bathroom. Any understanding of architecture would suffice, but we don't need to. So tell me, let's go back to the conference. Yes. So at any given point, how many people like you had skipped the presenter and were mingling in the room where you were mingling? Was it 10%, 20%? Because that would say something about the interest.
No, I think most of the attendees who had paid money to attend were listening to the talks. But as a speaker who is friends with a lot of the sponsor people, I was hanging out in.
Right.
They call it the
green room.
God damn it! No, the hallway track. So lots of conferences have like a track A and track B and track C, but the hallway track is where you just hang out in the hallway of the place and like network, which is, spoiler alert, the whole point of these conferences.
Sure.
I don't. My talk is going to be made public on YouTube and people will learn from it, hopefully. But the value that I get from going to a conference is meeting all these people.
Yeah.
Like, I made friends with CEOs of really important Silicon Valley startups, and like I went hiking with one, and I rode in his Tesla, and I met his dog, and next time I need anything from his company or someone that he knows, I can like call him up and be like,
Yeah.
hey, so that sort of network, it's all about networking. The actual conference topics, I don't know. Like, I hesitate to say something like this publicly, but like I don't really get the point of the conferences. Like, the organizers make maybe a little bit of money, but like they just barely break even, I think, with all of their sponsors and what they are spending to bring people in.
Yeah.
And the sponsors, I guess, make they get a bunch of leads where someone has come to talk to them, and then they can follow up with that.
On the booth side of things, on the sponsor side of things, the company I was vice president of, which strangely enough was a freaking IT company, if you can believe that, was paid good money, and also donated money for the car giveaway, right? Which, if you wanted to win the car, you had to have a ticket from every booth where there was a vendor.
Yeah.
And that was the way to generate for us the contacts we needed. But if we collected over the course of a 3-day event 110 or 150 business cards, and also considering that every event of any size, we sponsored a hospitality suite, which at the immediate end of the conference, in a room that we rented, we would have an open bar, and we would have appetizers, and everybody who came to our booth who gave us a card was encouraged to attend, and we might even
you got their undivided attention to
drink
like
tickets or whatever, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And the goal of that was for the people to say, "I like that company."
Yes, exactly. It's all about.
I like those guys.
Feeling.
I like those people.
Feeling. Yes.
Right?
That's why. Like, I've got a couple of friends. A mutual friend that you met, Kyle. Like, he spends a bunch of his time golfing with potential clients and just like hanging out.
To Kyle. He was the winner of the what did he win? He won a trophy.
Yes, I'm sure he did
for his dessert.
Yes. For the mousse chocolate. Yeah. Anywho, chocolate sauce on ice cream that you ended up eating like 3 pounds of or whatever.
Yes.
So, wow. I mean, what a level. And again, white male privilege to get to a place where your job is schmoozing with people on the golf course. It's like, what a hard life.
In San Francisco, I believe, we went to the extra degree of our hospitality and put it in a large room and set up a stage and featured a blues band. And the open bar and the drink tickets. There was an open bar for a certain period of time and then a cash bar. And we gave away tickets all through the day at our event.
Right.
And so what we did was we distanced ourselves, and that's not quite the word I want, but from the other hospitality suites, where ours was definitely like a long-term event.
Right.
And some people, and thankfully,
you specialized.
Left the conference, went to eat, and then came to our place, or would come to our place, have a few appetizers, eat, and then come back because the band played for quite a while. I was played harp and sang in the band. And we spent, I want to say, $3,000 on cost of equipment, which had to be rented, speakers equipment, or band equipment, flying in a sensational guitarist from Kalamazoo, who I've talked about this before in the rehearsal session and how weird that was. But the question came up later. Well, you spent a lot of money on this. Wow, you really went over the budget.
What did you gain?
There was no budget. Well, what we gained was exactly what we mentioned a moment ago. People loved what we did. We had hundreds of business cards. Our company had, not surprisingly, a pretty strict process of assigning those business cards for follow-up calls.
Right.
And working every contact to the point of dismissal or contract.
Right.
which we could work them. It was always clear that the people that we interacted with at the conferences, as opposed to other ways that we might meet them, was far more productive than any other way, because we convinced them that there was something about us they liked.
We're cool, yeah.
Well,
and like something about us that they liked, like, can boil down to like free shots at the bar for a night. Like it's like humans are so it's fun too. But so much of marketing is those points of contact where, like they say that before you buy an album, this was back when people bought albums, that before you bought an album, you had to like hear of the band like 6 or 7 times, or someone had to mention the band so many times before you would be like, I'm going to go buy an album from these people. And so much of marketing is like that, and it's so hard to trace the causality behind any of that. Like, which is why, like brand marketing, where you get a commercial on TV where it's a happy family, and they use Tide, and gosh, they're a happy family, and darn, the kids get dirty playing soccer, and then they come in, but mom's okay because Tide fixes everything. Like that, those sort of stupid commercials are the ones that bring that when you go to the grocery store, you think, oh well, I guess I'll buy this Tide brand, and once you are a customer of a lifetime brand like that, like car brands are the same. Like there are people that are Chevrolet people or Honda people or whatever, that once you're into that brand, that's just like what you do. But anyway.
So is it the case then, because of the Berkeley connection and the Richmond living quarters, you didn't spend any time in the city, or did you?
No, I went. So holy crap, Ubers are expensive. I went into the city and walked around a bit, and I've been there enough times that I don't need to go to Fisherman's Wharf, but I was there meeting some friends that were there for the first times, and so we did go to Fisherman's Wharf, and we had
it's a good location because of its proximity to music.
To everything, yeah.
Well, everything, true, but did you hear any music? Did you go any place where there was music?
I'm about to get there. We did go to Fisherman. We went to Bubba Gump Shrimp, whatever place, which
that's too bad.
I had heard of, and I had sort of understood was a reference to the movie, but I didn't realize that it was just a whole fucking like restaurant chain.
And it's a franchise. You could have done better, I'm sure.
Yeah. Anyway, but that was at the end of Pier 39 or whatever. Like the real estate that they had was prime. But yes, I did, and so on another day after the conference, and when I was just working, I had an appointment to go have dinner with my cousins. My mother's first cousin lives in Cupertino, and her family, and we sort of know each other. And I visited them a couple of years ago when I went by there, and they've come actually here to Spain to visit me. They were actually here 5 days before my son was born, so they were here when my wife was super pregnant. But I went to this little place called California Fish Market, I think is the name. And that little street is full of really cool, interesting places. It's sort of like a Little Italy sort of San Francisco, from what I could tell. But I got there 25 minutes early, and across the street there was a jazz band playing, and so I went and I got a beer. Hazy IPA is what's popular in California now. Apparently, hazy is not a particular brand; it's a type of IPA where it's somewhat opaque, as you might imagine. And so anyway, I sat down and I watched this. It was a keyboard and a drummer and a sax and a trumpet. The sax and the trumpet took turns.
So a half hour.
And it was lovely. Like when I was there, I was thinking, Dennis would love this. And I think I tried to record a video and send an email to you to be like, hey, I wish you were here, but the video was too big and whatnot. So
just FYI, if you're down in that area again, there's a bar on the wharf area called Louis. It's a small place, and it's a second floor bar with a downstairs restaurant called Louis, and they are a blues club. And back in the day, Tommy Castro played there. A lot of the legends have stopped in and played there. I played there actually by invitation one night, which was a fabulous night. And I actually was in the bar and had brought in as my kind of my guest two guys who were military jet flyers. Maybe I told you the story in one of the episodes. And they were in the that jet group, the Blue Angels, or what they called.
Sure, Blue Angels is a super famous jet group that's based around there.
And we talked about, they talked. I asked them, and they talked at length about the thrill of the flying, and the fact that at any given moment they're called to participate. But these two young men, not a lot of money, and not that I had a lot of money, but I said, you know what, you're not, thank you for your service.
For your service, yep.
And you are my guest. Come sit with me. We sat outside until there was room to go in. We went in, sat at a table. I introduced myself to the band. They were playing blues. They, as absolute luck would have it, the lead guitar player had an extra harmonica and just the key that was needed, so I got to play with them. And these two men went home. And I'll guarantee you that it took them twice as long to get home as it did for them to get there. They were staying on the ship, which they invited me to the ship.
Wow.
And this and that. And it sounded like they'd have to sneak me in, which they were up for. And I'm like, what? I'm 2 blocks from here. I'm just going to go to bed. But that's kind of what
Louis Bar. I found it on Google Maps, and
you were right there.
I mean, I was very close. Yes, it's right by the ferry building, which is the super iconic building.
There's also a Irish pub 2 blocks from there, away from the harbor.
This would have been nice information before, Dennis.
Well.
I mean, did I say I was going to San Francisco?
You told me at the end of the podcast that you were leaving and that you may never come back and that kind of thing. And I don't know. But anyway,
now we know.
Just FYI.
It's right next to the Glaucoma
Here's the other thing. And when we're talking about branding and marketing, imagine this. There's a restaurant down on the wharf area, which is pretty big, pretty long, that the restaurant has no signage and has no name. And the only way that anybody knows about it is through word of mouth. And you have to
tell everyone, all of our listeners, about it.
You have to know what wharf number to go to and which door. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know that, then you cannot find the place. And of course, oh my God.
Tell us. I mean,
well, and when I went there, you imagine San Francisco seafood, or San Francisco seafood. When you walk into this place, picnic tables in a warehouse, all with paper covers, hard brown paper covers over them, draped over the table, and all of the food, get up and go get it yourself in just huge baskets and piles of steamers and fried and this and that and lobster and I think that it was called the No Name Restaurant, which was how people got it. But isn't that a clever? Oh, and it was full.
Of course, yeah. So your Louis is right super close to the Salesforce Tower.
Really?
I said is the new tallest building. It's like within a block or two, and they have the best website, pourguys.com. Pour. How clever is that?
For Louis?
Yeah.
Well,
so, anyway,
so here's a question.
They should sponsor us.
Can I stay at the apartment where your company is if I tell them that I'm you? Would they know?
I would vouch for you. If no one else is staying there, then I would say let my boy stay there.
How about me and my wife and just a few friends?
I mean, under 10 people, I think would be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to plan on it. Well, this sounds like a fascinating trip. You were also in Atlanta, I understand, for some of it.
No, I will be. So
you're going to fly back?
Fuck.
I thought you were going to stay.
No. So next week. So this is our May episode. Next week, I'm flying to Salt Lake City.
Not because you're there.
To give my talk again
in Salt Lake City. Oh Lord, I can't wait to hear about that.
And from there, I'm flying to North Carolina, where I'm going to stay for a couple of days at the folks' place, and then I'm going to drive to Atlanta and then from Atlanta, I'm going to drive back to North Carolina, and then I'm going to fly back from Charlotte to Spain, and then a couple weeks later, I'm going to take the whole family back to North Carolina from Spain.
Oh my word!
So so this is I had so much content I wanted to talk to you about TV shows and stuff, but
Well, and let's just say this before we run out of time here, is that how about the fact that each of us on our own without any communication, each watched the inaugural episode of The Time Traveler's Wife, and each of us knew that the other one of us was absolutely going to love this show. Did we not know that?
So I got that spammed to me by HBO Spain, and when I saw it, I was like, "Oh my god, I have to tell my boy Dennis." And I watched 80% of the first episode yesterday, and man, it's so. I mean, we're trodden ground so far, but I don't know. Maybe something new will develop. I don't know.
Well, I would say that I was struck by how different it was from the movie, in that their opening take was a quasi interview with each of the participants, talking about the strangeness of being married to a time traveler. And
whoa! The first episode is not like that.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
We've been through this before, where your memory plays tricks on you. But the opening scene for episode 1 is the time traveler's wife speaking to the camera, responding to an obvious off-camera question, and then it goes to the man, and it has the same type of interview-esque type stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So that there was nothing anywhere near that in the movie.
No. Of course not
at all.
But man, they came like they cast the people pretty well. Like
I thought so. And how critical is it, of course, that you like the lead male character?
The man is super handsome. Like
handsome is easier than likable. In fact, they work against it. But Erik Bana, who was
story of my life.
Yeah, the opposite is the story of your life. Very, very likable and just extremely ugly. But that's okay, man. We all have our slot. But Erik Bana was remarkably likable in the movie and perfectly cast. I like this guy better because he's very funny.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that's quite different about the movie, I'm a little surprised for you to say you're hoping for something different. I'm also surprised to hear that you didn't watch the final 20%, because that portrays
time
time constraint.
Yeah, like bed summoned me.
Well, yeah, but but that's my point, is that if you decided at the 80% point that bed was more attractive than finishing it, that means that your thumbs up on this was maybe a 6 out of 10, where mine was in the 9. It was 9.
Right.
Well, and
I mean, we will talk about this in the future. And like, I watched a whole bunch of other stuff that I want to talk to you about, because it's not stuff that you will have. Again, you probably don't have Netflix, and also you don't have Apple TV Plus. There's this show on Apple TV Plus called Severance.
Yes.
What?
I'm familiar with the trailer. Tell me more.
So the concept is you work for Megacorp, and you go in, and your memory is bifurcated between when you come into work and when you leave work. So you walk into work and you go down the elevator, and for your perception, like the next moment is you're leaving work, and it's 5:00 now. And
the great actor from Big Little Lies is the lead.
Yes.
I don't know if you saw that, but he's exceptional. I saw the trailer for it. I another motivator.
But because I am in love with the psychology and the philosophy of what memory is, and are we nothing but a string of memories, this particular show is very, very thought-provoking on that. Because if your work personality only ever knows work, like you were booted up at work, and all you do is work, and at 5:00 you go into the elevator, and then you press the button, and then immediately it's 9:00 the next morning, and you feel rested, and you're ready for work again. Like what the sensation of that person is, and how how like ethical is that? And
Well,
can
it
you
seemed like fascinating
create
storyline.
Yeah, can you create someone like part of the one of the facets of the storyline is for rich women they can do this for giving birth, where giving birth like hurts and sucks, and if you could like remove the memories of that, which apparently is fairly like biology is pretty good about that, because women generally forget about how horrible birth is and then they like have more kids, but the if you could
I'm not sure you're
avoid
capturing that quite to the level of nuance that
no
might be
like
otherwise acceptable in the
no it's pretty common knowledge that common knowledge, I don't know, that the pains of giving birth are like not memorable.
overwhelmed by the joy of giving birth.
Okay, fine, yes.
I mean,
we'll
that's
go
what
with
you're
that.
saying, I think.
Yes, overwhelmed by the joy, yes. Much like each of these episodes. But
well, we're soon to be out of our misery.
so yeah. So anyway, I will see you in June. I guess I will be
June,
back.
June what? June 1st? June 2nd?
June 5th? No.
June 8th?
Yeah,
June
I travel
1st?
back June 5th or something. So we will maybe talk on June whatever Wednesday
8th.
is. Sure. So,
Hey, man, I'm glad to connect, see you again.
I have so much to talk about with stuff.
Yes, well, and just so you know, I'm currently watching
I've downloaded
5 different series. So there's.
Can you name them quickly?
Can I name them?
Look.
We own the city. We own the city. The baby. The man who fell to earth.
Yes, we mentioned that last episode. Yes.
Exceptional.
Yes, I have those.
And the Lakers winning time, which just ended. And
my
Barry,
notes from
which I now am caught up with.
Okay, my notes from last time were the First Lady and
I'm the First
Barry.
Lady. I forgot to mention that.
Yes.
I'm caught up on all those. So we'll connect and sayonara. Sayonara.
Sayonara.
I love you, man.
Okay, auf Wiedersehen. Okay, that's it for episode number 152. Thank you all for listening. You can find the show notes at happyhour.fm/152. You can help support the show at patreon.com/happyhour, where if you support us at the Gin Martini level, you can watch videos of our calls. That's going to be our only episode for May, sadly, so we will see you sometime in June.